Here is how to create this really trendy title animation that's very popular at the moment using After Effects. If you're ready to learn some really cool tricks, then grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's get cracking. So in a new composition, I'm going to press Ctrl, Command, Shift, Alt, and T to create a new text layer and type the title I want to animate. Place it in the center so it's visible. So one of the key elements of this title animation is the font combination. The text is usually a combination of a sans serif font and a serif font. So something like Geist and Playfair Display will work perfectly here. So what you want to do is have most of the text as the sans serif font. So in our case, it's going to be Geist, and I'm going to choose regular, and then have just one or two accent words as the serif font. I'm going to select the word animation, go up there and change it to Playfair Display. And it's usually one of the italic ones that works the best. To give it that modern twist, we need to adjust the tracking, which is the space between the characters. So at the moment it's set to default, and what you want to do is in the character panel, go over this tracking setting and reduce it until you get a nice clean look. So somewhere around -50 in this case looks really good. For some reason it's changed the font for me, so I'm just gonna go back and do that again. And now for the really fun stuff, the animation. You'll see it's actually not as manual as you think it might be. So if we look at our example, there really are two things happening in this animation. One is the position and the other one is the blur effect. Now that I've positioned the text and made it look like I want it, I'm going to toggle open the property panel, and in front of the text menu, I'm going to click on the arrow that says animate. I'm going to add blur, and I'm also going to add position. Set the white position to something around 100 and the blur to about 50. So how do we make it transition from this starting point to where we want it to be word by word? Well, this all happens in the range selector here. So if you toggle that open, go into the advanced properties, change based on and select words, make sure this is set to percentage. So that means that this transition from the starting position to the end position will happen word by word. And how do we make the transition happen? Well, that happens with just 2 keyframes. You're going to click on this stopwatch icon here on frame 0, go forward about 3 seconds, and place a keyframe here at 100%. Now, if you don't want to do all the work yourself and you just want to get cracking and start creating now, head on over to my store where you can find my favorite templates for less than the price of a coffee. This is a collection of my personal favorites, which I've recreated myself using After Effects, which you can drag and drop into your own projects and get cracking today. Now, select both keyframes and press F9 on your keyboard to create a smooth animation. Then go up to the graph editor up here. Make sure you only have the start property selected, so it's not too confusing here. Select the second keyframe, and whilst holding down Shift on your keyboard, you can drag this handle so it covers about 2/3 of the total animation. Now if we play this back, we're getting somewhere. Now we're nearly done and we can still play around with the settings, but there is one more property to add, and that's the opacity. So I'm going to click on this little arrow, select property, and go up to opacity. Now set opacity to 0 and play that back. And there we go. So even though this is dialed in and pretty much ready to go, we can still play around with the settings and the duration and stuff. So if, let's say, you wanted it to be 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds, all you have to do is just select that second keyframe and just drag it to, let's say, 4 seconds. And then you can still play around with how quickly the text animates by going back into the text editor. So maybe you want the beginning of the text to come in a bit faster, but the end text to come in smoother and slower. So let's try that. Nice. So there's a ton of really cool stuff you can do with this, so have a play, see what you think, and see you in the next one.